Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to session 2. I hope you all are feeling well. You might have been a little sore from last week. We took our time last week, and just know that as we progress, we're going to kind of pick up the pace a little bit and just start to move a little quicker. I hopefully won't hold you as long as I did last week. And just a quick side note on meditation. Some of you might be wondering, where does that fit into the practice, and are we gonna be sitting silently for 20 minutes? The answer is no. There is a place for that, but just know that meditation is just trying to get focused on one particular thing. You have a brain and it works most of the time for a lot of us. And so the whole point of meditation isn't to rid your mind of all thoughts, right? But it is to be completely present. And so as we move throughout our practice, moving through the different asana, the postures, that is in itself a moving meditation. When we take the time at the beginning of our practice to be still and to tune into the breath, that is also meditation. So no, we're not going to be sitting for like 20 or 30 minutes. Maybe I'll do a meditation one after this, I don't know. But just know that it does have its place in here. So let's go ahead and get started. Come to a nice, comfortable, easy seat on or off a block. Roll your shoulders up, back and down away from your ears, and just gently close your eyes. Softening the features of your face. And using this time at the beginning of your practice as an opportunity to get settled in. I don't know what you're coming to your mat with, or what you had going on before this class, or what you've got going on after. But right now we're presented with an opportunity to get tuned in. Just start to tune into your body. Noticing the areas where you might be holding on to some tension, where you might be a little bit more open, where you might be sore. Right? Not to really attach any meaning to any of that, but we're just becoming a little bit more aware. Tune in to where your body is connected to something else. Whether you're sitting on a block or your mat, where your ankles might be crossed, your legs on the mat, your hands on your thighs or your knees. Just being aware of that connection. That grounded feeling. And then from this body awareness, let's start to take that to our breath. And with every inhale, start to deepen the breath a little bit more. So last week we talked about the Dirga breath, or the 3-part breathing. I won't go into that specifically, but just imagine that you are taking in little sips of air. Slowly bringing that air up from the belly and through your ribs all the way up into your chest. And then exhaling fully from the chest, the ribs, the belly. And if there's something fighting for your attention right now, if there's just a lingering thought or something just mentally that you can't shake, I want you to try to, or start to count the seconds of your inhales. And then count the seconds of your exhales. Make sure that number on the exhale is the same, if not a little longer than your inhale. Okay, so that's just one little tool, one tip that you can use to help you stay present in your practice. And then taking your attention to the back of your throat, constricting there. Picking up your ujjayi breath, that ocean-sounding breath, that victorious breath. And then gently drop your right ear over to your right shoulder. Just starting to stretch the neck out here. If you want to give it a little extra stretch, you can take your fingers to the outside of your head and just gently pull the ear a little closer to the shoulder. Nothing crazy. Just a gentle assist. And then dropping your chin down towards your chest. Again, you can just hang out here, or maybe you interlace your fingers behind you, taking your palms to the back of your head and allowing the weight of your arms to deepen the stretch. And then left ear over to left shoulder. Again, if you want to give it a little extra, taking your left hand to your head, gently pulling down. And then releasing your left hand down. We're going to drop the chin back down to your chest and then take your right ear over to your right shoulder. And then making little half circles here with the head. Drop the chin back down. Make your way back over to the left. Drop the chin back over to the right. And then dropping your chin, making your way back over to the left shoulder. And then dropping your chin down to your chest. Bring your hands to your heart center. We're going to set an intention for our practice today. And let that intention to be just a simple word, whatever it is you need more of in your life. A simple word. Set that as your intention. And then as we move throughout the practice, start to create that. Okay, a lot of times we need things in our lives and we just wait for it to be like sprinkled on us like pixie dust or something. But we have the ability to start to create and bring into our lives whatever it is we need. So whatever that is for you, specifically, individually, set that as your intention and kind of keep that at the forefront of your mind throughout the practice. And then gently release your hands, open your eyes. If you're on a block, go ahead and remove it. And we're going to do some review of some of the postures we did last week. We're also going to add on some. And so we'll just keep doing that as we make our way throughout the series. And at the end, we'll have a nice full class. All right, so bring the bottoms of your feet together. Again, I'm going to turn sideways. Remember, you just stay like you are on your mat. For bound angle, right? Heels reach back towards the pelvis. You know the modifications. If the knees are really high up, feet can come out, or you can take blocks underneath your knees. But allow the feet to kind of peel open like a book. And then inhale, sit nice and tall in the spine. Exhale, hinge at your hips, reach forward, and then fold. Again, keeping the back straight. If you want to focus more on the hips, or allow the head and the shoulders to kind of round down and be heavy. Staying tuned in to your breath. And then inhale, lift your chest. You're going to keep your right foot in and then take your left leg out to a diagonal. So it's not going to be completely out to the side, right? And with your right foot in, we're going to sweep the right arm up and over, and your left hand, your forearm is going to come down either to the inside of your left leg, or maybe it'll come to a block, right? Wherever you need it to go. And then inhale, sweep your right arm up and over, taking the bicep by your ear. And as if you were spinning your chest open, right? Pulling the left ribs forward, right ribs back. Right? So that just prevents us from falling into the chest, reaching or facing the leg, right? We want the left side facing the leg as we stretch through the right side. And if you're really open in the sides, right, you can take the left hand down and then reach the right arm. Maybe you can grab a hold of your toes. And then inhale back up to center. We're going to switch sides to bring the left foot in. Take your right leg out to the side. It's a different angle. And then right hand comes down or to a block. And then we sweep the left arm up and over. Right? So with every inhale, imagine that you're just creating a little bit more space in between the left side ribs. If you can, take your gaze up towards the ceiling. If not, if that's too much on the neck or the head, you can keep the gaze forward or even down is fine. But we take it up to kind of encourage that lifting and that opening. And then coming back up to center. We're going to take both legs out straight along our mat. So last week we went into seated tree with one leg out and the other one bent. This time we're going to move into a forward fold or Paschimottanasana. It's also another fun one to say. We're taking both legs out along our mat, coming into that Dandasana or staff pose, right? And then from here, we inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, right? Not the back. Keep pressing the chest forward and then fold. If you've got your strap, take the strap if you need to around the arches of your feet and then use that to pull the chest forward. Right, if you don't have a strap, you can always just take your hands down wherever they land and then use that resistance to pull the chest forward. Thinking sternum to toes, not head to knee. And then inhale, lift your chest. You're going to keep the left leg out straight. Adding on another new pose, cross your right foot over your left leg. So your right foot comes flat to the mat, your knee reaches up towards the ceiling. This pose is called Half Lord of the Fishes. I don't even know where they got that from, but that's what it's called. So on an inhale, we lengthen up out of the spine, and then as you exhale, you can hug the right knee in, take the right hand back behind you as you twist. So you're always twisting into the knee. If that's not a deep enough twist for you, you can take your elbow to the outside of your knee and use that as resistance to twist you even more. And then coming back to center, release the twist. Right leg comes out, left foot crosses over. All right, so inhale, sit nice and tall. Exhale, twist to the left. All right, and one side may feel a little different than the other, and that's very normal. It's typical for one side to just be a little different. I like to refer to this as my more willing side. I used to call it a good side and a bad side, and someone was like, it's not bad, it's just less willing. I'm like, it's just a nicer way to put it, I guess. Very nice deep breaths. Lengthening up as you inhale, twisting a little bit more as you exhale. And then coming back to center, go ahead and release the bind and make your way out to hands and knees. All right, so shoulders stack over wrist, hips over knees, right? So the knees aren't together. I see a lot of that in class. Take the knees underneath your hips, and we're gonna take a few rounds of cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly down, gaze and tailbone up. Exhale, curl through the spine, press into your hands, take your chin to your chest. Inhale, soften the belly, reach your heart forward. And exhale. And then taking a few rounds here at your own breath. Again, taking any movements within this transition that feel good. And then making your way back out to a neutral spine. We're going to move into spinal balance. So this is a nice little core strengthener. And we're going to start with taking the right foot back. Keep your toes down on the mat. And then maybe you start to inch your left fingertips out towards the top of your mat. Take your attention to your right hand. Press firmly into the whole hand, almost as if you're trying to take the top off of a jar, right? So not all of the weight is just in the wrist, right? So evenly distributed. And then if this is okay, maybe you pick your right foot up, and then maybe the left hand comes up. So opposite leg, opposite arm. Belly button back to your spine, so we're not dumping into the low back. And then pressing into the right hand as if you are pressing the floor away from you. So we're not dumping into that shoulder, right? Everything's nice and strong. And it's not how high can you get it, but how long can you reach? So imagine that you are trying to touch and reach opposite walls. Calm, steady breath. All right, if you have to lower a limb at any point, lower a limb. And then gently release, and we'll switch sides. Take the left foot back, right arm forward, and then moving into your variation of this spinal balance. So get your gaze set. Again, this is a balancing posture, so you really want to get your gaze set on something that's not moving. And take one more full breath in. And exhale, gently release. Take your knees out, mat width apart. We came into child's pose last week, right? Big toes together. Sink your hips back towards your heels. Fingertips towards the top of your mat. So this is where your intention might come into play. So whatever it is that you set your intention as, you want to make sure that the modifications, that the variations of the poses you take line up with your intention, right? So if your intention was ease, then don't try to reach the fingertips out towards the top of your mat, right? If your intention relates to that, then by all means do it. But if it's ease, then maybe you bend the elbows, or maybe you take your hands in between the legs, reach back towards your toes. So just making sure that each variation lines up with whatever it is you need out of your practice today. Take a few more deep breaths. And then taking your gaze forward, make your way out onto your belly, onto the forearms, coming into that pose we learned last week, Sphinx pose. Shoulders stack over your elbows, lifting up out of the shoulders. Reach the sternum forward. Take one more full breath in. As you exhale, come all the way down onto your belly. Extend your arms back behind you, palms facing up, and then take your chin or your forehead to the mat. On an inhale, we're going to lift the chest and your feet, coming into locust pose. So new pose, back bend. And I want you to think about length before strength. Right, so we create space first. Protract the shoulders just a little bit. So protraction means reaching the shoulders forward as opposed to squeezing the shoulder blades in. So reach the shoulders forward just a little bit to create space in the upper back, and then press the pelvis down. Lift up into that space you've created. Hold 3, 2, 1, release. You can take one cheek to the mat, or maybe stack your hands, take your forehead there. Rock the hips side to side, releasing the low back. And we're going to move into that again. So chin or forehead to the mat, arms reach back behind you. Again, you want to hug the legs in towards the midline, this imaginary line going down the center of your mat. Again, they don't have to be zipped up together. They're just not splaying out to the sides, all right? So on an inhale, lift your chest and your feet. Calm, steady breath. Using your back muscles to pull you up even higher. And then exhale, gently release. Take your opposite cheek to the mat. Rock the hips side to side if you'd like. And then we're going to move into locust one more time. On an inhale, lift your chest and your feet. Again, reaching the shoulder heads forward, hugging in towards the midline. Keep the core slightly engaged. Again, not clenched, but we're protecting the low back. And then exhale, gently release. Again, if any of these postures are not okay, or if they hurt, I want you to listen to your body before you listen to me. You know, especially since I'm not there physically with you. Your body is your greatest teacher. So again, like I mentioned last week, knowing the difference between pain and just what's uncomfortable is important, and that comes with practice. But if it hurts, don't do it. Don't want you getting hurt on my watch, okay? All right, take your hands under, a little behind the shoulders, more towards the upper ribs. And we're going to press up into that hands and knees position. And we're adding on planks this week. So we're like diving right in, right? So your shoulders stack over your wrist. You're going to tuck your toes and lift the knees. So I want you to press into your hands as if you were pressing the floor away from you. So we're not dumping into the shoulders like this or the low back. Think about lifting through the front of your body as if someone were here holding you up, right? Press into the hands. So there's a little rounding of the upper back going on. Quads are engaged. pulling up through the pit of the belly, and trying to get your heels stacked over the balls of your feet. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the knees. And you just kind of send the hips back. So this is a huge pose, especially a prep pose for what you'll learn later, which is chaturanga. So finding a full, like a really strong plank is super important. If you can't do that with your knees up, right? If you start out here, you feel great at the beginning, but if you start to slowly lose it, then you know you need to drop the knees, and you can still lift through the front of the body, right? So I've got my knees down, but I'm still lifting, right? I'm not here. So plank pose, knees up, pressing, lifting through the front of the body. If you can't do that, drop the knees, all right? Send the hips back. Child's pose. Take a full breath in, full breath out. Back up through hands and knees. We're going to do plank pose one more time. Engage the quads. Get your gaze set. Tune into your breath. This breath will carry you through your practice. Use it. And then drop your knees. We're going to make our way to a low lunge. So again, if your wrists start to hurt in that plank pose, drop the knees. That just helps take some of that pressure off. And I mean, unless you've got something going on with your wrists, strengthening them is probably the main thing if they're just a little aggravated right now. So making sure that you build that strength in your wrist is really important. So coming back through that hands and knees, we're going to take the right foot in between our hands. And then if you can, start to inch your toes out towards the top of your mat. And then as if your knee were chasing your toes, we're going to reach forward. So we're kind of not from a 90-degree angle, we sink into the hips. You can keep your fingertips down on the mat. You could take your hand to a block and maybe one hand to your knee, focusing on the front of your left hip flexor. If you can, maybe reach the arms up. But I want you to think about reaching the left hip forward, creating space in the spine as you inhale, hugging in a little bit more as you exhale. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full breath in, gaze up in between your hands. And then exhale, take the hands down, frame your foot, straighten the right leg coming into half splits. So the hips stay stacked over the left knee. Right toes reach up towards the ceiling. Again, if you can't straighten the leg and keep the hands down on the mat, 2 blocks would be ideal here, but 1 will work. Right, and think about gently pressing your right heel into the mat and then taking the right hip back behind you. So creating lots of length in the back of your right leg. As you inhale, create space in the spine. As you exhale, fold a little deeper. So if you've got pretty open hamstrings, maybe you come down onto your forearms or walking the fingertips out in front. And then sinking back into your front knee. Keep the back knee down, left hand down to the inside of your foot, to the mat or to a block, and extend your right arm up for a twist. So again, adductor of the right leg inside of your thigh is hugging in, keeping your knee stacked over the ankle, right? So it's not falling out to the side. Stay grounded in your front foot. Reach to the right fingertips. One more full breath in, reach. And then exhale, release the right hand down, slide your right foot back, and we'll switch sides. Bring the left foot in between your hands. If it gets to about right here, like it can't get there on its own, use your hand. Help pull that bad boy up, right? No big deal. And then inch your toes out towards the top of your mat. Allow your knee to chase your toes as you sink into the hips. And then stay here with fingertips down on the mat. A block your knee or arms reach up. You could also interlace your fingers here, right? Opening up the chest, opening up the shoulders. Feels really nice. Thinking about reaching the tailbone down towards the mat so you feel an even more of a stretch in the front of your right hip. Take one more full breath in. Exhale, hands down, frame your foot, straighten the left leg, toes reach up towards the ceiling. Nice deep breaths. All right, I know I say or refer to the breath a lot, just because I think it's so important. But they also did a study on two guys in a gym, same amount of weights, doing bicep curls. And one guy had earbuds in and wasn't really paying attention to what he's doing. He's just kind of rocking out the reps. And then another guy, no distractions, no earbuds in, and focused on his breathing and the muscles that he was working. The guy who was focused and breathing had more muscle mass than the guy who did the same amount of reps with the same amount of weight. So I believe that's the same thing with stretching, right? If we're focused on the muscles that we're trying to lengthen and open up and we're breathing, then we're gonna get further faster in our practice. So forgive me if I annoy you with remember the breath, remember the breath, remember the breath. And sink back into your front knee. And then extend your left arm up for a twist. Again, this knee is going to want to fall out. Hug it in. Stay grounded on the inner left foot. You can always take your hand to a block or even the blanket behind or underneath your knee. Gaze up towards the left thumb if you can. Again, if not, keeping the gaze neutral or even down is fine. And then release your left hand down, slide the left foot back, and then we're going to make our way to standing at the top of our mats. So coming into mountain pose or Tadasana, we're going to move through that little flow that we worked on last week, the extended mountain, the forward fold, and we're going to add on a halfway lift. So getting grounded into your feet, whether they're together or big toes or feet hip distance apart. Pulling up through the belly, tailbone lengthens down, right? Take your time to get settled into the pose. Palms facing forward. Gaze is set. And then on your inhale, sweep your arms up, extended mountain. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, swan dive, forward fold, even if you have to bend the knees a little bit. Allow your head to be heavy. And here's the pose we're going to add on. It's a halfway lift. So on the inhale, reach the chest forward. You've got a few options. You can take your hands or your fingertips can stay on the mat. as you press the sternum forward, or you can take your hands to your shins, lengthening through the spine. But here's the difference. This is not a halfway lift. If you're not looking at the screen, look at the screen. This ain't it, okay? I want you to press the chest forward, flatten out the back. It doesn't mean you're literally halfway up, right? We're just creating space from this forward fold, right, in the spine. Halfway lift, heart forward. Take a full breath in. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Last one, halfway. And exhale. Grounding down into your feet with strong legs and a strong core. We're going to inhale, come all the way up. Extended mountain, fingertips to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, so remember those 2 ways that we lift all the way up, right? If the hamstrings are tight and the back and the core is not just strong enough to lift you up with a flat back, because that requires some serious strength, then we bend the knees. We use our legs, right, to help us get there. So from the forward fold, you bend the knees, look up, and then power up through the legs. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center, okay? So make sure that you're using, or your transition fits your body and where you are today, all right? Ground down into your feet. Here we go. We're going to flow. Inhale, sweep your arms up, extended mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Ground down into your feet. Rise up, extended mountain, fingertips to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. Don't worry, you got 2 more tries on that. So inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Come all the way up, extended mountain. Hands to heart center. Last one, inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Come all the way up, extended mountain. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a few deep breaths. And then gently open your eyes. We're going to move into Warrior One. So keeping your left foot forward, step the right foot back. Remember, heel to heel alignment. Sink deep into the front knee, arms reach up. You really want to feel this in your body. So I am giving you cues, and there are alignment cues to get you into the fullest expression, but there is no one body the same, right? So your pose is not going to look like mine. Your pose is not going to look necessarily like your neighbor's, right? So take these cues with a grain of salt. We've all got pre-existing injuries and stuff that we're working with in our own bodies. So don't get so caught up in the alignment cues. Sorry, as I give you this whole spiel in Warrior One. Don't get so caught up in the cues that you can't get into your body. Make sense? Okay, awesome. All right, back into the front knee. Arms reach up, Warrior One. Pull up through the pit of the belly. Back legs nice and straight. And then giant leap to the top of your mat. And we're going to switch sides. Right foot forward, step your left foot back. Right, taking your time, getting settled in. Arms reach up. Remember the fire shooting out of our fingertips. See if you could sink a little deeper. Inhale, take your gaze up in between your hands. And then exhale, hands down, step the left foot up. Warrior one, other side. I told you we were gonna get to moving from here on out. All right, warrior one, arms up. And then on the exhale, we open out, warrior two. So hold here, take an inhale. Exhale, open out, warrior two. Heel to arch alignment. Knee side over the ankle, pressing towards the pinky toe side of your foot. Hips, remember pelvic bowl. Keep the hips in line. Shoulders down, reach to the fingertips. Right? If the shoulders, if you've ever got anything going on, or you can always take your hands to your heart center, but keep the gaze down the left. Give me 2 more breaths. And then straighten, make your way back to the top of your mat. Warrior one, other side, step the left foot back. Arms reach up. On the exhale, we open out, warrior two. Check the feet out. Gaze down your right arm. Right, so the legs are strong, adductors hugging in, lifting us up. Right, feel the strength of this pose. Right, so warrior pose, you should feel pretty badass, if I can say that. Right, but tune into where you can soften, right? It's not just straight brute force. You got to be able to find some ease, bring some ease into it. So maybe that's the face, maybe the thoughts, maybe the breath. Release the hands, step up to the top of your mat. All right, guys. We're going to add on here, all right? So step the right foot back, warrior one. And then we open out, warrior two. We're going to add on 2 new poses. So keep the lower body just like it is. Flip the front palm. We're going to reverse our warrior. So the left arm reaches up. Right hand comes anywhere to the back of your right leg. So if you come out of that front knee any amount, sink back down, create space in the side body, gaze up. And then the exhale, take your elbow to your knee, extended side angle. So the right bicep comes by your ear, and you can either take your elbow to the knee. Again, this is where the block just kind of brings the earth up. You can take your hand to the block. Or you could take your hand all the way down to the mat. Right, so wherever you are, just tune into your breath. If your elbow's on the knee, we're not dumping into the shoulder like this. This is not it. Keep the core strong, keeping the upper body lifted. Hold for 3, 2, I know it's tough, 1, come back to the top of your mat. Right? Awesome. All right. Whoever said yoga is just stretching, tell them to buy my video. All right, step your left foot back, warrior one. Exhale, open out, warrior two. Make your adjustments. Flip the front palm, reverse your warrior. Keep the knees stacked. And then moving into extended side angle, elbow to knee. Right, hand to a block or all the way down to the mat. If you can't get the bicep by your ear, it's all good. That requires some flexibility there. Keep the hand reaching straight up towards the ceiling. If you've got shoulder issues and
even taking the hand up is not okay, then take the back of your hand to your low back. So you kind of use that resistance to keep spinning the chest open. Right? Think left rib bones back behind you. Hold 3, 2, 1. Top of your mat. All right, so we're gonna do all of that again, and we're just gonna kind of flow with it, okay? Step the right foot back, warrior 1. Take a full breath in. Open out, warrior 2. Flip the front palm, reverse. Exhale, extended side angle. See if you can come back up, warrior 2. So really power down into that left leg, rise up, and then step back up to the top of your mat. All right, left side, step the left foot back. Arms up, warrior 1, full breath in. Open out, warrior 2. Flip the front palm, reverse. Exhale into extended side angle. Power down in that right foot, press all the way back up, warrior 2. Bam, step to the top of your mat. Good job. All right, so may not be pretty at all, and it's all good, right? It doesn't have to be pretty. It could be shaky. You could be falling all over the place. Use that as a metaphor for life. Life isn't always smooth transitions. Life gets messy, but we just can't throw our hands up and quit, right? We just keep moving. Just keep flowing. If you fall, get right back up. Pick up wherever we are, right? Awesome. We do that one more time. Step your right foot back, warrior 1. Full breath in. Exhale, open out, warrior 2. Flip the front palm, reverse. Exhale, extended side angle. Rise back up, warrior 2. As you do, tailbone lengthens down. And then step back up to the top of your mat. Other side, step your left foot back, warrior 1. Open out, warrior 2. Flip the front palm, reverse. Exhale into extended side angle. Rise back up, warrior 2. Gaze down. And then step back to the top of your mat. Awesome job. This is no easy task. All right, so we're gonna move into wide-legged forward fold. We added that on, or we did that last week. So with your feet facing forward or a little pigeon-toed, again, try to go ahead and cultivate that body awareness. If you haven't ever practiced yoga, which is probably most of you, it can be really challenging to just figure out like where things go. And so don't just assume your feet are facing forward, right? Actually like look down at them. And if they're not, move them. Hands to hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, wide-legged forward fold. Hinge at the hips and fold. Right? Where's the weight in our feet? Heels or balls of the feet? Great job. In the balls of your feet, that's awesome. You guys are so smart. All right, so shifting the hips forward. And then again, options with the arms. You can always interlace your fingers behind your back. And keep the hands down on the mat. You can grab a hold of the ankles. You can grab a hold of your big toes with your peace fingers and pull yourself closer. And then inhale, halfway lift. So I'm going to turn sideways because a lot of times people don't completely halfway lift here. I want you to lengthen out through the spine and then take your right hand down to the floor or to a block directly underneath your face. So it can't be all the way back here, right? I want lengthening through the spine. Palm down or fingertips down and then reach your left arm up for a twist. And again, we're not dumping into this right hip. We're keeping the hips squared, twisting from the belly. So to keep the hips squared, you may not be able to twist as much, and that's okay. Keep the hips squared, even if you have to keep your hand here on the low back. And then maybe you can extend the left arm up. Inhale, create space. Exhale, take up that space. Release the left hand down, replace it, and then extend the right arm up. Again, hips squared, sternum to the front of the room. And then release the right hand down, put a little bend in the knees, hands to hips, come all the way back up to standing. Heel toe the feet in, and then step back to the top of your mat. So coming into some standing balance, last week we moved into tree. Today we're gonna add on warrior 3. All right, so we've done warrior 1, warrior 2, now here's 3. Start with grounding down into your left foot. I like to start with bringing the right knee up to a 90-degree angle, and then either take your hands to your heart center, or you can go ahead, fullest expression, reach the arms up. And then as you start to press the right foot back, you reach your chest forward. So you want to keep the hips squared. So think about toes down towards the mat. And then if you start with the arms out and you have to move to hands at heart center, it's okay. But keep that lifted leg nice and active so it's working for you and it's not just dead weight out in space. Breathe, gaze set. And then gently release, coming back to standing. All right, so there's always the question of, is my right leg like straight or is it a little bent? Your leg is straight. It's not locked out though. It's not like you're shoving your kneecap right to the back of your leg. It's just straight. And your joints can be straight. And as long as the muscles around those joints are active and they're strong, then that's going to protect the joint. So I know there's a lot of like, oh, you should never like lock your knees out. I guess that's a little different than just having your leg straight. So yes, your leg is straight. It's not so straight that you're trying to shove the knee back though. And if you've got knee issues or if you're just more comfortable with having the knee bent for now, that's okay. Just know that whenever you finally eventually like are able to straighten the legs and lock the joints out, oh, I said lock the joints out. It's not really what I meant. When you're able to straighten the whole leg, it does lock the joint in place. I think that's kind of what's happening. So that it can sustain you and it brings more stability, right? So if you think about the knee bent, you're just kind of buoyant, right? Just kind of hanging out. But with the legs straight, you're solid, okay? So just take that for whatever it is. Let's move into the other side. Bring the left knee up, hands to heart center or lift it up. And I want you to only extend the left foot back as much as you're able to drop the chest down. So imagine that you've got a rod from the crown of your head through the back heel. So this foot's not like a few inches off the mat and your chest is like trying to get halfway, right? Imagine that you've got a rod in your head, and then as you extend the left leg back, even if it's just a few inches up off the mat, then your upper body is just a few degrees forward, right? And then maybe you lower and lift a little, and then lower and lift a little, and then lower and lift a little, until eventually maybe you are halfway or parallel to the floor. Breathe. And gently release. Coming back to standing. Nice job, guys. Okay, so we're gonna finish our standing balance with tree pose. So ground down into your left foot. Bring the right foot up any amount. Again, prop it up like a little kickstand, calf or inner thigh. Get your gaze set. And then take your fullest expression, whatever that looks like for you today. Then gently release. We'll switch sides. Ground the right foot down. Bring the left foot up. And then gently release. Awesome. All right, make your way onto your backs. And we're gonna come into bridge pose. Right, so we did this one last week. Knees stack over your ankles. And again, make sure the feet are facing forward, right? They're not out, they're not pointed in, they're straight. And then grounding down into your feet, start to lift the hips up off the mat. Maybe you can tuck your shoulders underneath you and interlace your fingers. But again, knees aren't splaying out to the sides. They're hugging in and up. Keeping the gaze straight up. And then untuck your shoulders, come down one vertebrae at a time. Windshield wiper your knees side to side. And then we're gonna move into bridge one more time. So ground down into your feet, start to lift the hips. Walk your shoulders underneath you. Staying grounded into your feet. Trying to lift through the chest here as well as your hips. And then untuck your shoulders, come down one vertebrae at a time. Bring the bottoms of your feet together, knees out to the side. Just take one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Closing your eyes. Noticing the rise and fall of your belly. Maybe you can feel the beating of your heart. And right now, just having a sense of gratitude around that beat, around that heart, around that breath. Right? It happens so naturally, we don't even have to think about it. But we're not guaranteed another one. So right now, just having a sense of gratitude around the life that is within you.
And then bringing your knees back up to center. You can use your hands to kind of pull them back up if you need to. And then hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe rock from side to side, massaging your spine. Then we're going to move into pigeon. And since I'm already on my back, I'm going to show you the modification for this pose. So reclining pigeon is if for anyone who's got knee issues or their hips are so tight, you can't do it traditionally. So since we're on our back, go ahead and take your right ankle to your left knee, flex through the right foot, and then press your knee away from you. All right, if you already feel a stretch here and this is enough, hang out here. If it's not, you can pick the left foot up, interlace your fingers around your thigh or maybe even your shin. But keep the low back pressed down into the mat. And then keep pressing your right knee away from you. And then if you're wondering, I don't know if I need a modification, go ahead and release and rock up to a seated position on your mat. And we're going to come into traditional pigeon. And you'll know pretty quickly if it's accessible to you or not. So we're going to work on getting the right shin as parallel to the top of your mat as you can get it. That does not mean it's going to be parallel at all today, and that's okay. But that's where you're going to be working towards. So getting your right shin as parallel to the top of your mat as you can get it. And we're going to extend the left leg straight back. So now this pose might be looking a little familiar for you. The key here is to keep the hips squared. So you'll see a lot of this, right, where they're on the inner side of their back leg and they're rolled off onto the right hip and then they're all folded over. This is not the pose, okay? This is pretty easy. I shouldn't say that. It might not be easy. But you want to keep the hips squared. So you'll start to feel that a little bit more in the outer right hip. So make sure the back leg extends straight back from the hip and then check your foot out. There's a tendency for the foot to want to turn in. Make sure it points straight back because there's a tendon that it can pull on the outer knee, and we want to make sure it doesn't do that. So toes point straight back, and if the hips, if you're up here like this, hanging out, then again, a block is also, maybe this one's a little thick, but a block, a blanket, or on your back, right? But we're gonna take a few deep breaths here. We inhale, lengthen through the spine. And as you exhale, you can start to walk your hands out, maybe come onto your forearms, onto a block, or all the way down onto your mat. If you have super open hips, you can start to come out onto your belly or your forehead. And again, if you've got open hips and this is not a huge challenge for you, work on getting the shin parallel to the top of your mat. Just make sure you keep flexing through your right foot. And this is a pretty intense stretch, so your mind wants to be anywhere but here. So recognize that, right? Be aware of that. And when your thoughts take you off of your mat, quickly recognize it and come back to where you are, right? You may have to do that 1,000 times throughout your practice, and that's okay. The more you do it, the more you practice consistently, you'll notice that the time that your thoughts take you off the mat, it gets shorter and shorter, right? So don't judge yourself for, getting distracted. Honor yourself for recognizing it, and then just come back to where you are. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Start to walk your hands in, lift your chest, can roll off onto the right hip, swing the left leg around. And if you know this variation is not accessible, go ahead and come onto your back or stay on your backs and just switch sides. So your left ankle will come to your right knee. All right, but take your time to get into this pose. Right, back legs extend straight out from the hip, toes point back, hips are squared. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. And then as you exhale, start to fold over your left leg. Finding some ease here. Notice if you're clenching the fists or if you're holding on to any added tension in the hips. You really want to soften, surrender. It's a great word for this pose. And allow the weight of your body to deepen the stretch for you. And it's amazing the benefits that you get when you fully surrender to the pose. Take that with you off your mat. Start to walk your hands in. Lift your chest. Roll off onto the left hip. Swing the right leg around. Come back onto your back. We're going to make our way into Shavasana. So go ahead and come onto your back into a nice reclining position, one that you can hold for a little while. Right, and coming into this pose like you would any other. Be very intentional. Allowing your legs to fall out to the sides, walking the shoulders underneath you maybe a little bit more. Draping a blanket over your legs if that feels nice. And closing your eyes, allowing your eyes to be still, your eyelids to be heavy. Letting go of your breathing practice, right? That pranayama that we use throughout the whole standing portion, the asana portion of the practice. Let that go. And allow that natural rhythm to make its way back in. Begin to deepen your breath. Starting to bring some awareness back into your body. Right, notice if that final relaxation is challenging or if it's fairly easy. I feel like we're taught to always be on the move and that we always have to be doing something. So notice if you're okay with just being still. And if you're not, it's okay to be still. It's okay to rest. Right? Just be aware of that, and maybe that's something that you need to work on, and that's okay. Then reach your arms above your head, pointing your toes, taking a nice little good morning stretch. And then slowly bringing your knees in towards your chest. Give them a little squeeze, a little hug. And then again, keeping your eyes closed here. Just gently roll to one side and make your way to a seated position on your mat. Taking a moment here to notice how you feel. And especially in comparison to how you felt when you first stepped on your mat. Maybe there's a big difference, maybe there's no difference. And that's okay too, just noticing. And then bring your hands to your heart center. Taking with you what you've cultivated here on your mat, the strength, the flexibility, whatever your intention was. Right? Take that with you off of the mat. Don't just leave it here. Right? Because when we step off our mat, that's when the real yoga starts. This right here, this is just practice. Take a full breath in through the nose. Sigh it out. And take your thumbs to your forehead center. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste. Good job, guys. We'll see you next week.